I've been a person that almost had to learn to lean on myself, like fight my own battles, do everything for myself, be on my own, and just like I've had to learn to lean on myself so much for the longest time. So I think it just manifested into motherhood, manifested into like everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've never known to ask help from someone else. I can do it myself,
Even if you're struggling.
even if I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And I've learned, I've gone to those places and I've been able to take myself out of it. Until actually I became a mother, I got into a very dark place and had to seek therapy for me to be able to come out of that place.
Can you share a little bit more about that part? What would you say has been sort of the toughest challenge when it comes to motherhood?
Yeah, I think it's a resurfacing of like past childhood trauma.
Yeah.
You go through life and you think, oh, I'm fine, or I don't know what triggers it, to be honest, but I think what triggers it is I don't want to be that version for my child. I'm trying to be the best mom to them. So it's sort of, I think, triggers all of those things that you thought you've dealt with, but you actually haven't dealt with. So for me, it was a build-up, I think. It was a build-up from the loss. I've gone through like a lot of loss, not just people dying in my life. I went through friendship loss. I went through the miscarriage, and like I've lost a lot of things. Whilst we were growing up, we lost our home.
Yeah.
We were homeless, and all those things sort of like built up to this very moment. And when I became a mom and the pressure became too much, it like exploded.
Yeah.
I thought I had dealt with it, but I think motherhood was like, you're lying.
Yeah.
I didn't. So because I guess I wanted to be the best version for my son, everything just came out. And funny enough, I used to be a person who never stopped to feel. Like I was like, I'm not going to feel it.
Yes.
Doesn't deserve my time, because that's what I was taught as well in my childhood. Like I was taught to be strong, and I was strong as well in my journey for everybody. I'm always that person who like absorbs, and also it goes back to me being an empath, so it's almost like all of that was just like building, and then when I looked at my son as well, I got scared. I'm like, look, be honest with yourself. You're caring so much. Are you going to be the best version for your son whilst you are in this position?
Yeah.
So it just came out, and I feel so much now.
Yeah. Do you feel that was more like, because I'm listening to you now, it sounds almost like you were trying to maybe overcompensate.
Yes, definitely.
For Aiden.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to overcompensate, and that's always been my problem.
Yeah.
I overcompensate for everyone.
Yeah.
For relationships, because that's how because I wasn't treated kindly in my childhood. I've always wanted grace, but I was not given that grace. I go in life giving people the same kind of, like grace, even for things that don't deserve grace. I'm like, it's okay, it's okay, they're fine, and then that
Builds up.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How did you, because let's be real, like with therapy, at least like I can speak to it personally as well, because for the longest time I was just like, I don't know about this. Like I don't know. But I also got to a point in my motherhood journey where I had no other choice almost, but to at least give it a go.
Yes.
Let's be also even more real. In the Black community in particular, Black African community, it is like, it's almost like it doesn't matter which country in Africa you're from. Therapy is like, who does that?
Yes.
It's still very new.
Yeah.
And it's still considered a very like white thing to do.
Yes.
So did you feel that as a bit of a barrier? And if you did, like, I just want to know, how did you kind of like got through it, just so that anybody listening and watching can maybe get some kind of sort of inspiration from that.
Yeah, so funny enough, you saying that it's sort of like a barrier. I actually called my mom the one day. I broke down. I don't remember why I was crying actually, but I just felt like I was in a tight space. And I also during motherhood, I was starting to have, like during the early days, I was starting to have suicidal thoughts. But every time I felt bad, I was like, my son, that was the only thing I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And I called my mom that day crying. Like, I don't know why I was crying. I said, I'm tired. And then she was like, you tired of what? You know, she didn't understand. And I said, Mom, I can't pick it. I don't know what it is, but I am tired. And my mom took it so lightly because I'm that person that's always like strong. So she took it so lightly. She didn't understand. I even dropped the call on her. And then I was like, who am I going to tell? My husband was at work. And I was just like, I don't want her like burden here.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell my sister. My sister didn't even know I was going through this whole thing because I would be strong for my child.
Right.
I would be strong in front of everybody, and then I would go in the room and I would cry, and then I would come back. I would be fine. So lucky enough, I have a really good friend of mine. She's far, but she understands this whole journey. Like she understands how the mind can sometimes work. And she's like, friend, you need to go to therapy. That's what she said to me. And then I was like, but in my head, I don't need therapy. I'm strong. I've always been able to get through this, you know. What's my mom going to think? What's my sister going to think? Who's the, like, you know, this whole image that I had, because, you know, people are quite resistant to therapy. They don't understand it.
Yes.
But I think I appreciate her at that moment because she's the only person who understood me, and she's actually the person that pushed me. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have gone for therapy. I wouldn't have gone. Maybe I would have suffered, harbored it again, like, and then just move on.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for her.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for her. I do have those people that don't understand what therapy is all about around me, but I'm quite grateful for her that in that moment she led me on the right path. Yeah. And also really grateful for my husband because when I said I'm going to therapy, he was like 100%.
Yeah.
Let's book someone.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so important, you know, to have at least one person, I find, who isn't going to sort of like, look at you a bit sort of like, really?
Yeah.
You know, look at you a bit kind of, who does that? And, you know, it's a really like, because therapy is amazing. I love my therapist as well. He's brought a really important, he's just very valuable in my life. But at the same time, it's hard work. It is going through what you need to go through and to talk about the things that you have to talk about. And it's very vulnerable.
It is.
And it can be quite emotionally draining. So if you don't have that support, I think it can be quite lonely. It is doing that. So I'm glad that your husband, you had your friend and your husband as well who helped you with that.
Yes.
So about how many, was it like, about how many months after Aiden was born did you kind of start this journey of therapy and self-help?
It was actually 5 months after he was born.
Yeah.
So I was breaking a long time before that, but it was only after 5 months that I decided, you know what, this is actually not happening.
Yeah.
I actually went one weekend. I think Aiden was like 6 months, and I had to drop him off we drove to Durban, and I was just like, Mom, take him. I just need to go find myself. And I just went. And I'm so glad that I did that. And that's when I also started like my therapy sessions. And I'm so glad I did that because it really helped me a lot.
Are you still going to therapy?
I'm still going to therapy, 100%. Yeah, still going to therapy, and I just love it there.
Yeah.
I love that. Also, she's a stranger. You know, her opinion is not biased. You know?
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of, at least I found, you know, when I've spoken to some of my friends who don't go to therapy, who've never gone to therapy, they're like, isn't it weird? Isn't it weird when you're talking to someone who you don't know? And now that you said that, I'm like, actually, that is quite nice.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. They know my history a certain way, but they don't know all of that.
Yes.
And so they're listening to me in that moment. listening to my issues in that moment. It's not like, oh yeah, but remember, like, and like you said, it's very unbiased.
Very unbiased. Yeah.
It's refreshing.
Very.
Yeah. Do you think it's something that you'll continue doing?
I am continuing with it because also apart from motherhood and stuff, we've gotten to speak about many other things, things that are actually happening in my life. I can tell her about little things that happen, and she can sometimes make me see light,
Yeah.
So I am going to always do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love therapy as well. I do. If I could have like a session all the day, always. But I have my therapist on, standby, and every once in a while, because I had, postpartum. It's not about me, but I had postpartum depression.
Yes.
I was diagnosed with that after I had Kai, and that's when I first started going to therapy. And so since then, like I think I did an intensive 6 months or so with him, and then he was like, okay, you can continue if you want, but if you don't, I don't think that you're depressed anymore. So we paused, and then, but then 2020 came, and it was like, I need some support here. So I have that relationship with him. I'm really glad that I do that. In case life gets a little bit too much, I can just message him and then we book a session, So it's much more like ad hoc.